A great show lined up for you. I'm your host, Kim Jacobs, better known as the Balance Doctor. And all of our guests that come on, they're either people that have overcome some tremendous odds in their own lives as they balance this thing called life, or they're experts and they're here to share tips and strategies that will help you better balance and manage your life. Grab your virtual seats and let's get ready for some real relevant and relatable content on today's episode of The Kim Jacobs Show. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of The Kim Jacobs Show. I hope that you all have had a fantastic day so far. Listen, you are in for a tremendous treat. As you can see, I'm doing something a little bit different, and you can always give your feedback and let me know whether you like it or nah, I don't like that much. It's up to you. You're my audience, and it's because of you that The Kim Jacobs Show even is able to come on daily, Monday through Friday, right here in your home, in the comfort of your home. We hope that we're bringing balance to this world, one household at a time. And today, I have a special guest backstage. Are you ready back there? Are you ready to rock and roll? You were born ready. I'm bringing you in. I see you talking back there. How are you today?
I am blessed and highly flavored, as my grandbaby would say. How are you?
I love it. I have never heard anybody say that. Blessed and highly flavored. Okay. Yes, come through, grandchild. You are highly flavored. Glad to have you here today, TaMara.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. I know that you have a busy day. We were talking backstage. You work with clients, and you sit back a little bit from the camera so we can see your whole face. You'll be like, "Girl, I know you ain't have me with my head cut off the whole show." So let me let everybody know first of all who you are, and then I'm going to give you the opportunity to say more about yourself. But I'm really honored, everybody. And please let us know where you're visiting in from too in the studio audience. But TaMara, we call her TaMara E'Lan G. Indianapolis native is what she is, who relocated to the Charlotte, North Carolina area. She's a proud mother and grandmother who is blessed to be walking in her purpose as a multimedia artist, author, and inspirational speaker, and she has performed in an assortment of productions and events throughout the Midwest and many places around the world. I'm not going to go into every detail because she is a co-founder of Project W.I.N.G.S. We inspire, nurture, guide, support. You are in for a treat to learn more about my guest today, TaMara E'Lan G. E'Lan G. I love it. Welcome to the Kim Jacobs Show.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Peace and blessings. Thank you for having me. It is a blessing to be here.
Well, tell us a little bit about yourself, because I got the opportunity backstage to learn some, but I would love to learn more about you, where you came from, what even brought you to where you are today. So take us a little bit back on your backstory.
Well, I am a poet. I am an author. I am an actress, director, playwright, screenwriter, and I've dabbled in some stand-up comedy,
Okay.
stage management. And I'm a native of Indianapolis, Indiana, and I'm the president and the co-founder of Project W.I.N.G.S, which is has been in existence now, blessed existence for 8 years. God. And despite some challenges and storms and transitions and changes, you know, God is still in the blessing business, and He has sustained us, and I'm just so blessed. A little bit about my backstory, how I came to be here today. I am a survivor of childhood sexual abuse. I am the survivor of domestic violence. I am the survivor of substance abuse. I am the survivor of I'm a suicide loss survivor. So I've lost loved ones to suicide, and I'm a suicide attempt survivor.
Wow.
Okay? I say that to say, you know, a lot of times when you give your backstory, you know, I used to carry all of those things with a level of shame.
Right.
Because I said, well, dang, you know, Lord, I don't want to be this poster child of tragedy. You know, it just seemed like or felt like, right? But, you know, no, but what I always say this is that, you know, humans waste pain. The enemy exploits pain, but God uses your pain for purpose.
God
And
uses your pain for purpose. Y'all make sure you take notes, because the things that this woman is going to be dropping as nuggets tonight will change how you think and how you view life. Say that statement one more time.
Yah uses your pain for purpose.
God uses your pain for purpose. Somebody type that.
Yes.
Wow. Okay, keep going.
And so, so I start out from the ages of 3 to 12. I was molested by both men and women. I was sexually assaulted. I started drinking at age 8. I started smoking at age 11. I started popping prescription pills by the time I was 14. And by the time I was 15, I had became pregnant and I was forced to have an abortion, and that was very traumatic. So even though I wrote my first suicide letter when I was 11 years old, I was 11 years old. And my first suicide attempt was at age 16. And, one of the things that I can tell anybody is that, again, I used to, we carry that stigma and that shame, especially in the brown and black communities. I tell people all the time, when it's about breaking generational strongholds, is that what stays, we're always taught that what goes on in this house stays in this house.
Stays in the house, right?
Okay. But the truth of the matter, it doesn't. What goes on in your home doesn't stay in your house. It goes to school, it goes to work, it goes to church.
That's right.
Okay.
But
So,
but
in
but
order,
but say, break that down a little bit, because when you say it goes to those places, how is it going to those places? I already know
it's
the answer, but I want you to break that down for people.
it's going through our children.
That's right.
It's going through the people who's carrying that brokenness as adults. Broken children grow up to be broken adults.
Yes.
And so we don't want to, a lot of the things that we don't want to talk about that's going on in our home, whether it's sexual abuse or dysfunction, whether it's domestic abuse, whether it's substance abuse, whether it's unchecked, mental health illnesses, all of these things create that web of trauma and generational strongholds. And when you grow up and you're taught that what goes on in this house stays in this house, well, the truth of the matter, it doesn't. It goes out, because children live what they learn, and broken children often become broken adults.
That's right.
And when research has shown that 1 in 5 adults have a mental health illness, 1 in 7 children and youth, they have a mental illness. And a lot of times, especially in the brown and black communities, there's a lot of still shame and embarrassment and stigma, more so than it is in any other culture. And so we keep all those things, and those things don't get taken care of. And then what happens? Children who have trauma, they often develop mental health illnesses. They often have personality disorders, and as adults. And then we wonder, what I mean? That we're wondering why people are not getting the help that they need, because there's such a stigma against getting mental health help.
That's right.
And I tell people all the time too that a lot of people think sometimes some of the myths. Let's talk about some of the mental health myths. One of them is that mental health illnesses, a mental health crisis, is a sign of weakness.
Right.
How many people have heard that? Okay, shake it off. How many people have heard that?
That's right.
How many people say that, well, you don't have enough faith? And this comes from the church, and this comes from church hurt, which is a whole different other subject. But again,
we have the whole hour here, so that's what we're talking about, a variety of angles. Sure.
Church hurt. So, sometimes people think that, well, you haven't prayed hard enough, or you're not praying the right way, or, anything, you pray it away. And yes, prayer is powerful. But the Lord also gives us mental health professionals to be able to help us get through those mental health challenges. That's why they're there. And so a lot of times I tell people all the time, and Minister Lorene Hall, by the way, she always says, you can have theology and therapy too.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with that. So she's a
so
wise woman. She knows what she's talking about.
You can have God and a therapist too.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Actually, and a lot of times we'll go, and let's be honest, you know, your pastor may be a wonderful pastor, and but they may not always be equipped to deal with mental illness. They may not always be equipped to deal with mental health crisis unless they also have a mental health professional
License.
degree, license, or something.
That's
But I
right.
tell people, it's a wellness when we are spiritual. We are spiritual, physical, social, and psycho beings.
That's right.
So when we talk about healing, we have to talk about healing on all aspects of our being, all aspects of our being. And so, it's okay, have you a mental health therapist to be able to help you be able to break some generational
That's
strongholds in
right.
your household and for your sake and for the sake of your generation. Have you a spiritual advisor and your pastor or a spiritual advisor that's helping you be able to deal with your spiritual health. And for those that, because mental health is half hereditary and half learned, and that's another thing. A lot of people, again, when I tell people that, they're looking at you kind of like, but I know, no, it's half learned and it's half hereditary.
Right.
And you may not be able to help if you have a chemical imbalance. You cannot help if you have a genetic disorder that's causing your mental illness. A lot of times they have medication for those things. And again, mental health professional help. But we
It's a big
can't
difference.
control, no matter what the enemy tries to tell you, you can't control whether or not you have sexual abuse and dysfunction in your home. You can't control whether there's domestic violence in your home. You can't control if there's substance abuse in your home. And you can't control if there's unchecked mental illness in your home.
Are you saying you can or cannot?
You can those things that we can get help to be able to stop that. We can get
Absolutely.
help to and have the courage, and we ask God even for the courage
That's right.
and the faith to and the perseverance to be able to get through those things. Because even though, one of the things I had shared with my aunt, some of the things I'll be talking about tonight is our matriarch.
Hmm.
And she said, well, some of it was upsetting to her because she was like, I didn't know you went through all that.
Wow.
You know,
Well,
we keep a lot of all the trauma that I went through. She didn't know all of it because some things in my family, like most families, things were swept up under the rug. You
so
know,
when did you feel comfortable coming out and saying, because you're talking about it tonight here on the show, but
mm,
when did you really come to the realization that you shouldn't keep this bottled up and it should be released so that other people can benefit from your story?
well, I'm a suicide loss survivor, and suicide attempt survivor. So in 2020, actually 2010, I lost a good friend to suicide, a
Mm.
classmate and a friend of mine named Steve Heiser, and he took his life. And a lot of people, it was right after our high school reunion, and I always regretted that I didn't go because it would have been the last time I would have seen him.
Right.
But a lot of people were so shocked they didn't know that he was struggling like that. I
Mm.
did, because we shared those things. And then in 2012, I had another loved one that took their life. And 2014, Steph came to me in a dream.
Mm.
Thank God. And he put his arms around me and he said, sis, do something with this. I don't want nobody else to go through this. I don't want nobody else to struggle like we struggle. And when I woke from that dream, I had this promise in my heart. And I asked God, I said, if you spare me from these suicide demons, I'll do something with it. I'll give back, because I didn't want nobody else to struggle to that. I didn't want nobody else to think they were alone. And I have been in therapy off and on since I've been 13. But it wasn't until that moment, I guess, that I really had the courage to start speaking out about it,
Okay.
because it's so many of our children, especially Black children, and we always talk that suicide is a white man's disease.
Right. Right.
And it's not. We also have a rise in suicide among our African American children. There's a rise among suicide among elders. And suicide it doesn't have a ethnicity, it doesn't have a class, it doesn't have a financial status. It can affect anyone. And so when I first started telling my story, I put out bits, and then it was like a purging. And again, it wasn't so much, I guess I needed to heal from it. I needed to say it. I needed to get it out.
Right.
And then and that was my process of healing. And I tell everybody all the time, putting yourself out there is not easy, and it's not for everybody. But
That's
I believe that, yeah, but I believe that God allowed for me to put my testimony out so that other people know they weren't alone. That other people know that if I can get through it and overcome it and conquer it, so can you.
That's good. And I'm grateful that you're taking the time to pour your heart out at this level so that people can get better. And what I think I've heard you say too is that some of the biggest challenges that you've seen that's
Mhm.
dealing with mental health awareness in the faith-based community and in the African American community has been based on myths and
Yes,
perceptions. And so if
yes,
we can get over those and find out what are some solutions, then people can hopefully have a better outcome in dealing with, like you say, the suicide prevention themselves,
yes,
as well as
yes.
losing loved ones to suicide. And I was looking here at the statistic, and this one is from the racial and ethnic disparities, Black population, suicide rates among Black or African Americans from 2011 to 2020, and it's 13.5 per 100,000 people in
Yes,
2020. That's huge. So it's
yes, it is.
a
Yes, it is.
huge, staggering number of even African Americans that are committing suicide. And so it's not just based on the color of someone's skin. That's a myth too, unfortunately.
Yes, it is. And it's a myth, and a lot of times in our community too, we're kind of like shake it off, but you don't tell somebody with a diabetes to shake it off.
Under no circumstances.
We don't tell somebody with a heart condition to shake it off.
No.
So it
You
needs
get
to
the
be
help
more.
that you need with the whoever God has blessed with that particular skill set. That's who you go and get checked by to
That's
determine
right.
what's going on. And so
That's right.
God created, in my opinion, I'm only speaking on behalf of Kim, God
Mhm.
created the physicians too. And so
Yes, they do.
if they're able to use their gifts and their talents to say, this is what we see as a potential issue for you, and we want to
Mhm.
give you some resolution, then you might want to take heed to some of the advice. You may not go the prescription route. Maybe you may go holistic or all natural or whatever the case may be. And some people don't use any of that. They just say, you know what, I'm strictly going to pray and ask God to just remove this and be healed and by the stripes of Jesus. And that happens too, because God still works miracles. So there are a
Yeah.
wide variety of things that happen to
It
bring.
is a variety.
Yeah,
It is a variety. And I tell everybody all the time, I tell people, use your discernment, but also allow for God to give you wisdom.
that's right.
But you have to be open to it. You have to be open because healing comes in a range of ways, you know. And one of the things, like I said, when you're dealing with mental health illnesses and you're dealing with, especially in your home and in your community,
Right.
is we have to be transparent about it.
That's
We
right.
have to be honest.
But
We
this
have to.
this person made a good point. So make sure you read that at some point in the midst of being honest and transparent, not sweeping in under the attic or in the basement or in the back of the closet. Plenty of places to hide trauma when you're within your
Mhm.
own home
Oh
confinement.
yeah. Oh yeah. And sometimes we have to be honest when when there are people who, how can I say it? Now, I'm trying to make sure I put my words right. But there are some people, we normalize trauma. You understand what I'm
That's the best
saying?
way to word it. What you're saying is it's perfect because it's nothing normal about a person considering suicide. It's
That's
nothing
right.
normal about it having to be you having to witness people dying from suicide. It's nothing normal about somebody taking your innocence as a child
That's
and
right.
you having to carry that all the way throughout your childhood and into your adult years where you're still talking about it at this point because it
Mhm.
impacted your entire existence. So there's
Yes, it
nothing
is.
normal about that. It's not even
It's
fair,
nothing.
to say the
But
least.
I but I also say that it's not your we can't allow You can't allow, and it's easier said than done. So when I say this, I'm saying this with love and compassion. I'm saying it's someone who's been there, who's still, you know what I mean? Healing is not a straight line. Grief is not a straight line.
Mm.
And forgiveness is not a straight line.
That's so
It's
true.
all a process. It's all a journey.
That's right.
So I say that for someone out there is that don't allow your trauma to define you.
Hmm.
Don't allow your trauma and your past to define who you are, who you think you are. Because at the same time, it's how you overcome those traumas. It's how you conquer and face your obstacles and your challenges that defines who you are.
That's right.
And you can get through and we can overcome. So I want to give someone hope. You know what I mean? I want to challenge us to be brave enough to break generational strongholds because again, you know, if mental health illnesses and conditions and personality disorders. So mental health is half hereditary and half learned.
That's right. Good.
One you can't control, one you have more control over than we think and what we've been taught.
But you are really passionate about this. That's why I'm just trying to make sure I give you plenty of space to talk about it. Now, what advice would you give? Because there are some people that want to help. They want to step in and intervene, but they don't know where to start. So, any advice on what you would give to people that want to help in their community and dealing with mental health issues
Well,
with
yeah,
individuals?
Well, yes, ma'am. I tell anybody again, ask for guidance. You know what I mean? And sometimes God will give you signs. Not sometimes. God will give you signs on how you can be able to give back and how you can be able to touch and what your purpose is. And I do believe that He blesses those steps. And if you ask for your steps to be guided, it will be. For me, I started volunteering and walking with American Foundation of Suicide Prevention.
Beautiful.
And so the even with Project Wings, how Project Wings came about was from that dream with Steph,
Right.
but then it didn't take hold until and I started walking with AFSP. They have Out of the Darkness community walks.
Okay.
They also have advocacy programs. They have safe talk programs where you can learn about suicide prevention and awareness. The
Good.
same thing with NAMI, National Alliance of Mental Illness. We've been very blessed. Project Wings, and I want to be able to talk about that some more. Project Wings has been very blessed as an organization because one of the primary goals of Project Wings is to be able to be a hub of healing for people. And so we've been very blessed over the years to partner with organizations such as AFSP and NAMI. We've been blessed to partner with mental health professionals. So my advice with anybody is that look in your heart and start where your passion is. There's many organizations out there, mental health organizations or social and community organizations that deal with like mental health, that deal with youth,
That's
that
good.
deal with elders, that deal with grief. Because I tell people, even though you may not be the 1 in 5 that have a mental health illness, you could still be suffering from a mental health crisis.
That's right. That's right.
And grief is a crisis. It's a national crisis. And we don't deal with that. We haven't properly even been taught how to grieve and how to deal with grief. Think about that. Because sometimes people will negate your grief process. So
That's
one of the
so true. Everything you're saying, I feel like I'm in church right now just hearing you preach because everything that you're saying, people do try to minimize how you are feeling and in which phase they feel you should be at within the process. So let's answer this question too and sit back a
yeah,
little bit from the camera so that your forehead isn't cut off. Okay, but it says question, do you think slavery mentality affects communities' acceptance of mental illness?
I sure do. And not only that, and I'm going to say this: we were Project Wings just a few years ago. We were on the AFSP, a local chapter panel, okay, statewide panel. We were the only organization of color. And one of the things that I brought up was how racism contributed to mental health disorders and crisis for people of color. Now that's unique because no other culture goes through it like that. No other culture experienced the slavery, post-traumatic slavery disorder. Okay, no other culture has experienced the oppression the trauma and everything, and the racism. And Dr. Joseph Smedley, who was a wonderful psychiatrist in Indianapolis, Indiana, by the way, and has been very integral to Project Wings. He talks about that. He talks about how we have the images, of our people being killed. Now we got to think about that in the media, and it plays over and over. So
Wow.
think about what that's doing to us
Well,
as a people.
there's actually a statement here from, I'm going to read this statement. It says, a statement from Mark Rowland, Chief Executive of the Mental Health Foundation. Racism means using the concept of race to judge or treat someone worse than others. It exists in many forms and on many levels in society, including even in healthcare. It can include acts of discrimination and prejudice towards individuals and groups. This is his own statement here. But it can also describe wider systems of oppression. So racism is a mental health issue because racism causes trauma, and
Yes,
trauma can contribute to the development and worsening of ill mental health. So that's his
yes.
statement. And wow, that's mind
Oh,
blowing.
oh yes.
In a nutshell, it sums up a lot. Okay,
Honey,
continue.
I tell you, when we was on that panel and I said that, you could hear a pin drop.
Mm,
You could hear a pin drop,
of
but
course.
it needed to be addressed. And it was the truth.
Mm,
And I felt like many organizations, whether they are black or brown or not, they need to be addressing the impact of what racism and what slavery has done as far as mental health in America.
that's right.
And so that's another thing. When our children are seeing, and the fact of the matter is, when our children is seeing so much death in the media, online,
Yeah.
social media, they seeing it in their neighborhoods. Some of them have trauma in their home. They
Yes.
don't have conflict resolution. They haven't been taught coping skills.
Yep.
They haven't been, so conflict resolution and coping skills haven't been taught. And so we wonder why they're taking their own lives.
That's
They're
right.
taking each other's lives, and then their lives are being taken by through racism and oppression.
That's
So
good.
it's real, and it needs to be addressed, and we need to be compassionate, empathetic, and we need to be proactive. You have to be proactive, and it starts at home. They say charity starts at home. Well, so does healing.
Yes, it does. And you know what? I normally keep my show and the church stuff very separate, but I'm actually right now on my phone sharing this particular episode to our church community too, because I think it's so important that people tune in, no matter what church you're going to, have your
Mhm.
members, if you're a pastor or if you are at a church, have some of your church members tune in and watch this episode, because this is very helpful information that's being shared here. The way we think about how we even deal with mental health and how we choose to help people get through the scenarios that they're dealing with makes a huge difference based on what TaMara E'Lan G is saying tonight. Somebody said, thank you for sharing your testimony. Master's Way Creation says, thank you for sharing your testimony, being an inspiration, and for making a difference. You are truly amazing. Great job, sis. I am proud of you. Warrior, overcomer, truly blessed. Thank you for that comment, Master's Way.
Thank you so much. To
Yeah,
God be the glory.
lots of people are tuning in, saying different things to you, just to encourage you to, and you stepping out of your comfort zone of sharing this. Okay, let's move on to, tell me what sparked. I would like for you to talk about what sparked Project Wings. And I know the acronym, but I want to hear what sparked it.
Okay, so again, after that dream, and the God gave it to me, and so when I came up with Project Wings, it was initially when I was for the name rather, it was initially for a program that my aunt and my mother was doing for in honor of my grandmother, but it didn't come into fruition until I was at Scott United Methodist Church in Indianapolis, Indiana.
Okay.
So, and that was 2016 or 2015 when I came, and 2016 when we began to meet. And it was me, Varetha Cooper, who also was vice president and later president of Project Wings as well. And we had Joshua Jordan, who is our Earth son, and he's now transitioned. And that's as of November 2023, we lost him, 34 years old. That was very hard, but he was very instrumental and very brave in the formation of Project Wings, and we
Praise
had Patricia Dickerson, and we was also under Reverend Dr. James Anike. And I want to shout all the, give up my flowers to them because
God.
they
Yes.
are the co-founders. We got together with Project Wings, and again, we inspire, nurture, guide, and support those who were struggling with mental health conditions and or mental health crisis in our community. And it was this, we started out building on the existing mental health ministry that was there. And we started out as survivors, and we started out as helping each other. It was a support group.
Okay.
Okay. And we end up and then we started our programming in 2017 and persevered through COVID because we
That's
were first just having groups like once or twice a month. But during COVID, we started meeting weekly, not only to support ourselves but other people who were struggling.
yes.
Especially COVID made a lot of people struggle. That brought
So
out a lot
that
of.
that brought out even more mental illness
Yes, it
because
did.
now
and
you
and
have
the
to live isolated from everybody else. And some people we didn't even know were having breakdowns and mental health crises because they were alone. So
yes,
there's so many
yes.
factors. Wow,
Yes, and domestic violence raised during that time,
you know that.
abuse, substance abuse. So we started out that little engine it could, and we started out with just support group meetings, but we started having workshops.
Okay.
And the workshops, we call them coping skills workshops because again, we're teaching coping skills. One of the things that help people with your mental health, whether you got a condition or just people, period. Whether mental health is for everyone, first of all. So
That's
whether you
every
have
person. So that's
that's
what everybody.
everybody. That's
We all have
everybody.
something that we have some level of mental health to grab hold to and gain better control over, depending
That's
upon
right.
whatever life circumstances are in
That's
life.
right.
Something can
That's right.
trigger you. Yeah.
And again, when we're dealing with mental health crisis, chronic pain is a mental health crisis. There's people struggling with chronic pain. I've been there. I know what that is. Again, grief. People struggling with grief is a mental health crisis. I know I lost some loved ones to COVID. I know there were other people who lost. So during that time, God just expanded the program, and we were just so blessed. And we were, and just saying this, we were blessed to have a pastor and some people that supported us because again we were talking about things that churches didn't, we hadn't at that point. A lot of churches don't deal very deep with mental health, you
Well, I
know
think every church, because the church is filled with people, and
Mhm.
according to statistics, at least from the World Health Organization, one in every eight people in the world. So for every eight members in our church, one of them is dealing with a mental disorder, according to the
That's
World Health Organization.
yes ma'am,
That's
that's right.
huge.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So, they say that everybody got something. We
Mhm.
have to, and again, we have to be transparent. So, what we loved about, we had so much support there. And what we were able to do we expanded even to be able to do a singles parents ministry
Good.
part. We did a homeless outreach, and we made care packages for the homeless. There was some people, it's just like, what, because a lot of homeless individuals are also dealing, as a result of mental health illnesses and conditions and crisis.
And
So, even making care packages for them
it's
and
important.
ministering to them and letting them know that they could come to that church and not be judged. And
Yes.
yeah, we were able to do that, and we had some. We partnered with mental health professionals. We had an organization. I mean, we had an event that we did every year called G2G, Generation to Generation, which was a brainchild of Dr. James C. Anike. And
Excellent.
yes, generation to generation. And we would have vendors, and we would have different forums and panels. And one of the things that Project Wings did was have a mental health block. So we invited mental health professionals to come in, and people to be able to come in, ask your mental health questions, get resources, and be able to address everything that we talked about. So we talked about LGBTQ plus community and their spiritual and mental health journey. We address sexual abuse and dysfunction. We addressed substance abuse. We addressed, of course, the mental illness, and we addressed home of origin.
That's
And yeah, home of origin. And I do this with my aunt Diana Durham McLeod in Chicago, and we've done several workshops on this. Again, I want people to look at your homes, and that's one of the hardest things to do,
that's
but
right.
it's necessary
And
when
so
you
it
want
all
to heal.
starts in the home, is where you're saying, and that's where the foundation is beginning for people to grow and flourish. But it's also the foundation where some people are being traumatized and
Yeah,
prevented from being able to be all that they could be. According to the World Health Organization, too, a mental health disorder is characterized by clinically significant disturbance in an individual's cognitive, emotional regulation, or behavior. And it's all
that's it.
different types of forms of mental health aware illnesses, but 970 million people around the world, according to these statistics, are
Mhm.
living with mental health disorders. So
Yeah.
it's not something that we're just sitting on here. When we're talking about bringing balance to your house, bringing balance to the world, this is a necessary conversation. And I see all of you all are chiming in. So let's put some more comments up. Thank you
And I
so much
can't see
for
the.
your response.
I'm sorry, I can't see everybody, but
Oh,
yes, Miss Kim, help me.
between you, remember we talked about our glasses. Remember
I
we
know
talked, you're like, one of us got to put these glare glasses.
somebody got to put some glasses on.
Thank you for your responses, is what Lauren said. And Mackenzie said, I am a happy, medicated individual. Me medicated is better for my mental health as for my husband's health as well. I love
Amen.
that you said that, Mackenzie. You want to talk about that? Because not everybody's willing to put it out there that they're on some type of mental health
Health.
medication.
Well, I'm just gonna tell people always do your research. I don't care what medication you're on. You
Right.
know what I mean? You do what's best for you, for your mental and your spiritual and your physical health. That's what I tell people. So I tell people to follow the advice of your mental health professional. So there's some people who are strictly holistic, and I've been there. I've been on medication and I've been off medication. I've
Okay.
been holistic, you know what I mean? And so everybody's journey is unique
Everybody's stuff
as
is unique. Yeah.
that's right.
Thank you so much
So
for your
I
transparency, Mackenzie.
Yes, and stay encouraged and continue to take care of yourself. And
Yes.
thank you for your transparency and your honesty, and we want to be able to encourage people to be able to get the help that they need and however that's gonna come, as long as it's best for you.
That's good. Very good. This is a good conversation, and keep your comments and your questions coming in if you have any for our guests today. I want to also know from you, what kind of workshops and support groups do your organization offer, and how can people that are watching today tune into it, benefit from it, whether it's virtual or in person? Can you tell us more about your services?
Yes, ma'am. So we offer coping skills workshop and we use a lot of art therapy, and so I want to be able to also talk about art. Just definitely saved my life. So when the new direction of Project Wings is using more art therapy techniques, but we've done in the past. So whether that is coloring, drawing, painting, sculpting, art therapy has been known to not only release stress and tension and anxiety, but to relieve depression. It has been known to work with anybody from veterans to anybody struggling with PTSD.
Good.
Again, and to save my life, I'm a visual artist as well. Writing, journaling. I tell people, so we offer all those different workshops to be able
Good.
to address different topics, different needs and goals of each client or group. And it's the fellowship too. You know what I mean? A lot of times when
Absolutely.
we do it in group, yeah, fellowship is part of self-care
Mhm.
and it's part of a healing journey. It's good for you. Okay.
That's why it's important for people that do go to the different churches and things to fellowship together with other believers, because even if you're that person, especially during COVID, we got into the mode of, I'll just be home and I'll stay home and I'm good and I'm content. But really, whenever you get the opportunity to come together with other pockets of believers, whether it's through your networking groups, your network marketing groups, whether it's through
Mhm.
your church or nonprofit organization, if you're volunteering or if you're going out feeding the home, you want to get with some like-minded people. that will also help edify you and uplift you and build you up too, so that you're not on an isolated island by yourself. It's very
That's
important.
right. That's
How do
right.
people stay? Okay, here, good. This is thank you, Mackenzie. Mackenzie helped me backstage because I didn't have stay connected with you. I want people to know how they can stay connected with you. We're gonna keep talking, but give them the ways they can stay connected with you right now.
Okay, yes, ma'am. Y'all can find me and stay connected. We have Project Wings both on Facebook and on Instagram. We also have, you can find me on the TaMara E'Lan G on Facebook and Instagram. I tell people I'm still learning TikTok. I'm on TikTok too, but I ain't doing much. I
We
ain't doing much
appreciate
on that.
wherever you are. So thank you.
Wherever I am,
Yeah.
so and you can always reach out to me. One thing about me, I tell people all the time, please, I ask God to use me. I ask God to use me as a vessel of light. And so I know that I'm blessed when when I come into other like-minded people, and a lot of times, even, I don't care who you are, sometimes our light gets dim, but we can never let our light go out.
That's right.
So it's important to be able to fellowship. So I tell people, if you need me, if you need to talk, call me, reach out to me. I'm here. That's what I'm here for. That's what we are here for. So
Right.
we, again, even our support groups, we come in and we help people get support groups going. We facilitate, whether it's grief groups. Actually, I do a meditation and a grief group at my job. Now, I'm going to tell you, at my job, I wasn't trying to do that, but the Spirit led me, because I work at Brookdale Senior Living, by the way, and
Okay.
the residents needed it, and so I asked God about it, because this is some extra work, and I'm not getting paid for it, but it was a need, and so we answered the call, and so I facilitate a meditation and a grief group there.
Well, we
And
want to volunteer our church because we're looking for opportunities to volunteer and partner with different senior facilities, homeless communities. Please let me know outside of just the
yes,
show here, because we don't
okay,
want to just be in the church building. We want our group of people to go out and make an impact in the community. So I'm looking forward to some partnership opportunities there.
yes, ma'am, please. We would love that. And it's a blessing. So, yes, you can find me on Project Wings on Instagram, Facebook, TaMara E'Lan G on Instagram and Facebook. And I know, again, I can attest how art has saved my life. I tell people, so let's talk about, I want to talk real quick about some self-care tips.
Okay.
Because
Okay. Go ahead.
how do we get through what we need to get through? How do we get through our storms? How do we get through our challenges?
Yes.
Well, the first thing you need to do is have self-care, because one of the things too that happens with Black and brown communities, and specifically in the Black community, is that we've been taught not to rest.
And the devil is a liar, because I'm gonna get
And the
this.
devil is a lie. But if you think about this, and Minister Lorene Hall, again, very instrumental to, we've had some wonderful therapists in Project Wings. We partner with mental health professionals that will, do some sessions, that will come in and they facilitate groups, and virtually online right now, because I'm relocated to Charlotte. But we have Minister Lorene Hall, we have Dr. Joseph Smatley, we have a Reverend Richard Fields. I call him Ricky because we go
These are
back
all
40
people out of
years.
Indianapolis. Is that what you?
Yeah, Reverend Richard Fields is in Detroit.
Okay.
Minister Lorene Hall and Dr. Joseph Smatley are both in Indianapolis.
Okay.
But we can always link you up. We will link you up with mental health professionals.
And it's
And there's
virtual, right? So
yes,
anybody
it's
virtually, no
virtual.
matter where you are in the country, you can access. If you connect with TaMara E'Lan G, you're going to be able to get connected to the proper resource that she's going to
Yes,
personally connect you to. And on Tanya
yes.
said that she appreciates you being so personable, and she has totally enjoyed your workshops that she's attended. Thank you for
Oh,
that
thank you.
testimony, Tanya. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Art and music are wonderful therapy techniques and so relaxing. It's peaceful. Humans
Yes.
were never meant to be alone, Teresa said. And I do want you to talk about too, in what ways has art, whether it's through performance, writing, speaking, helped you heal personally? Because I know you're helping other people, but how has it helped you personally heal?
Oh my goodness. Let me tell you, I'm going to tell y'all this. When I was little, I was kind of odd a little bit. So when other kids was playing, I was writing and making little manila little comic books and stuff like that. So it started when I was little, writing. And I say that, and then by the time I was in junior high, I was in magnet programs for writing and for visual arts, and it helped me. It was how I cope. What I didn't realize, I didn't have a name for it then, but it was what got me through. I could write, I can escape, I can express myself. So even when I'm performing, whether I'm coming in and creating wellness and affirmation circles for productions, because that's very important.
Right.
I do that as well. A lot of times, I mean, theater, and especially if it's a subject matter that can be triggering. And I tell people this, I tell stage managers and directors and producers this, that, what kind of mental health space are you offering for your actors and your crew?
Right, right.
Okay. So that's very important, because when people coming in from work, or they come in from wherever they coming through, and I've dealt with it, and you going going into rehearsals, they bringing that energy in.
That's right.
Okay, and if it's a typical, if it's a topic that's very triggering or something, how are you helping them to release stress or decompress from that?
That's good.
So art therapy and creating a safe space for performers is very important as well, because art therapy again has been shown to just be prolific in your healing journey, and it has just helped me tremendously. Like I said, this is one of my coping skills, and I tell anybody all the time, we all got gifts. God gives us all gifts.
Every person.
So that little thing that we take for granted,
that's right,
is actually a gift from God. It's also a coping skill. So whether you love music is very, again, instrumental. Also, I do mindfulness exercises. So I meditate. And I know a lot of people, again, we get into church, when some church believers don't believe in meditation, and they think that's new wave, but it really isn't.
I don't understand. When I meditate, when I'm praying, to me, that is I'm blocking everything else out. I'm spending time with the Lord in my quiet space. No interruptions, just me and the Lord. And
that's right.
I consider that an honor and a privilege that he would even take time to bend his ear down to hear my prayer.
That's right.
You can't get that in the midst of a bunch of noise.
You can't.
Chaos.
But that also comes from us being taught not to be still. See, when you've been taught, then that's a slavery mentality too. Then we rest when we dead. You ever hear that? Miss Lorraine brought that up. It all has to be done now. Or when you be still, you're not being productive, or you're being lazy. So it is peace, be still. And even in scripture, it says that you are supposed to pray and meditate upon the word.
That's right.
So we know that meditation is also a gift from God. And I would tell someone also is that research has shown, now this is very, and I always think this is so, I just think this is so powerful, how scientists can try to go out and disprove God. Okay. But every time they try to, they come back two ways that I've seen in research.
Okay, come on. Tell us what two ways are you seeing.
They come back believers, or they come back, well, I can't disprove it. You know why? Because even in instance of prayer and meditation, when we only use 10% of our brain.
Our brain, that's right.
Okay, but during prayer and meditation, there are actually areas of your brain that is activated that's not activated any other time. The science has proved this. Neuroscientists have proved this. It's the God gene. I want people to do your research and look it up. The God gene.
Yeah. The God gene, y'all. Somebody type that. The God. Y'all, this woman dropping knowledge on here tonight. I'm typing it right now. The God gene. Oh my God, it really is.
So,
the God gene.
So think about, you are actually, when you're meditating, when you're praying, you're not only activating areas of your brain that is not usually activated, but you're empowering. See, meditation also helps rewire your brain and some of your circuits and everything. And I'm not using no scientific words.
It's literally, if you Google it, it's very clear. It says that it specifically is hypothesized to yeah, to influence a person's predisposition towards spirituality and mystical experiences by affecting their neurotransmitter levels. Its faith is hardwired into the genes, proposes that this gene, along with other genes, is a product of natural selection that enhances self transcendence. Anyway, it can go on and on and on.
Yes, thank you for that. I love it. Thank
I like
you. So
research. I'm like,
yes, I love it. That's what we do. So, I want to encourage people. So some of the self-care tips that you can do is, again, rest, you know what I mean? Rest and have peace and resting. Okay.
that's
Honor,
good.
honor your journey. Have compassion and grace for yourself, because I know for a fact, I know I can be hard on myself sometimes, and God had to get with me. I had to get chastised about it. Give yourself the
Well,
grace and the compassion and the empathy to yourself that we give to others. That's
that
self-care.
that's important.
That's important.
Important. Very
Drinking your water, exercising, utilizing mindfulness exercises. So whether that is yoga for some, whether that again is meditation,
whatever works.
And I also tell people, as far as the creative part, as far as art therapy, there's another thing that I find fascinating about journaling. Okay, for people that don't journal, I want to encourage people to journal. You know why? Not only is it an expression, your creative expression, and you release a lot,
That's right.
but that's your legacy.
Yes.
See, our culture, we have griots. We used to have griots.
Mm-hmm.
That was the storyteller.
That's
That
right.
was the history keeper.
Mm-hmm.
And so what happens, what better legacy can you leave your children than to be able to have them journals? Because it's not, your children's going to see us fall. Our children are going to see us sin, even some of us. They're going to see us fail, because we're human. No
That's
one is perfect. But that's not as important as seeing how you've overcome it.
how we
How
overcome.
did you conquer it? How did you face it?
That's
How
right.
did you get through? Because when you gone, and we all gotta go, guess what? Your children, your grandchildren have, in their words, Mimi went through this.
That's
And
right.
she got through
She
that.
got it in the journal.
Or yes. It's a legacy thing too. So when my children get my journal and I laugh about it, I said they're gonna be just some parts they're gonna be, oh mama, but oh mama,
We didn't know you
gonna
were
be some
feeling like
stuff.
that.
But
Yeah, that's good stuff right there.
But what's important is the lessons that we leave behind,
That's right.
the motivation that we leave behind. So journaling is not just for you, but it's also for your family.
Yeah, I'm gonna type that. I put it over there on Instagram, but journaling is a part of your legacy.
Yes.
Make sure you know that. And I had a situation tomorrow where I was teaching on Sunday and I was talking about being a legacy leader. And in the scriptures that we were coming from, we were talking about the grandmother Lois and the mother Eunice in Second Timothy, and how important it was that Paul was actually giving and showing favor to Timothy, all because of his grandma and his mama. So
Yes.
we are going to be somebody's grandma and mamas and different things. And if you don't even physically have children, you can be spiritual parents to somebody. And
That's right.
that same night, God put this thing in motion and put me to a test. I came out on Mother's Day to a parking lot filled with hundreds of Hispanic people that had went to a concert, and the tow truck people towed all of their cars, hundreds of them, hundreds.
Oh.
But there was not enough room at the place for them to actually go to the concert, so they had to park somewhere. The people, 5 children came up to me tomorrow, and they said, "Can you please help me?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is God like trying to put me to a test right now." And sure enough, me and some of my children that were with me, we helped them. Ended up taking them over to the abandoned place where they could get their car. Only after they had to pay $400. They had to pay an additional $400 on the spot in order to get access to even know the address of where their car was.
Oh,
It's
wow.
crazy stuff that's happening in this world
Yes,
that can
it
throw
is.
anybody into a tailspin mentally.
Yes, it
That's my
is.
point. Mentally,
Oh, yes.
stuff can just turn you sideways. People can
Oh,
get
yeah.
hurt quick,
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
and you
And
don't
and
even
we
know it.
don't want to and we don't want to talk about it, but now more than ever, is when we need those coping skills and conflict resolution.
Yes.
Because we don't want to talk about, let's talk about it, but I am, the mental anguish that this current administration is doing. A lot of people are fearful. A lot of people are hurt. A
Mhm.
lot of people are confused. A lot of people are angry.
That's right.
Okay, so this is now more than ever is when we need to be compiling our resources together,
That's right.
keeping our mental and our spiritual and our physical health all together. We
Mm,
have got to, and we've got to lead the way in that.
mm.
Because when I look at our children, you know, it wasn't them that dropped the ball. Let's be honest. A
No.
lot of time it was the generation and the generation before. Again, this is generational things. This is generational strongholds.
Right.
So how do we teach them how to be able to be able to cope? How do we teach them how to be able to survive and persevere and
Mhm.
build our resilience? Because even with suicide occurs when your coping skills don't outweigh what your life stresses. And we all gonna have life
We
stressors.
all gonna
The
have.
Lord even said that we're gonna have trials and tribulations. But
Yeah,
for not for I have come to overcome the world.
that's right.
You know what I mean? So we you know, we're gonna have trials and tribulations,
You
but
better.
we have to be able to teach, and we have to practice, and we have to teach and preach how to be able to have coping skills, have conflict resolution, self-care, and taking care of your from mind, body, and spirit, taking care of yourself and making it a priority. We
This
have
is
to.
good. This is good. And people are commenting. I hope I'm getting as many of the comments up as possible. Tanya said, keeping it all together. Teresa said, is that robotic customer service and outsourcing customer service? People sends people over. Oh, instead of having a human being dealing with things, people are being replaced with these robots, is what I think Teresa's saying. And that's
Mhm,
sending people over the deep end too. Oh my
mhm,
God. Robbing
mhm,
citizens by policy. This is awesome
mhm.
good conversation, y'all. We can end up talking about this all night, literally. I do want to. I'm serious. There's some good stuff here. I do want to put a few of these pictures up and images. I
Yes.
think these are yours. Is that you?
Oh yay! That's yes, that's some Project Wings and Project Wings. The young man with the glasses on right there is Joshua.
Okay.
So please, you know, love and tribute to Joshua Jordan,
In the
who's
red
one of the,
shirt.
yeah, in the red shirt. He's a co-founder of Project Wings. We also have Bree Anderson, the young lady that is on your, I guess to my right, with the glasses down here. She was vice president and also a workshop facilitator. She works at the Boys and Girls Club in Indianapolis, Indiana. Did a wonderful job, was my right hand as well. And
Was she?
then we have,
She's no longer here either.
yeah, she's still here. Oh no, she is very
Oh,
well.
okay. Yeah.
Just got through getting her master's degree in social work. She is thriving and surviving. So shout out to my baby. I love you. And then we have Demi there in the red. We have my girl Frankie in the middle. And we have Michael Collins. And down there at the end is my grandbaby. Because
Yeah.
again, so that is our AFSP Out of the Darkness community walk. And again, that we show our babies, you know. So my grandbaby went everywhere with me when I did, whether it's productions, whether it's been workshops, whether it's been suicide walks. My grandbaby has been with me
That's
because I want, again, to be able to show, you know, I have to show her. You
that's
have to show them. It's not just telling them. You have to show them what community service is. You have to show them what service and being obedient to God is. You have to show them how to pursue their dreams and go about their calling and their purpose. You have to show them.
yes, yes.
So
And who
she,
is this picture here? Tell us.
okay, and this is Joshua again over here in the glasses. That's Miss Pat Dickerson in the white. And one of the co-founder, and then that's Bree Anderson again, and Bree spoke that Sunday. Yes, and there that one picture you had up, the next one.
Oh, here. Is
Yeah,
that another?
yeah, that's Joshua. That was his first AFSP walk. So yeah.
I see all kinds of great things back here. Hope.
That is Kelsey Aaron, who is now she's director over AFSP Indiana chapter. And again, she was just so instrumental in getting us mental health resources and AFSP resources that we could share to the community, that we shared at our events. They're very supportive, very loving people. Yes, we was at Black Expo. We that is an article, me setting out. Again, you can have God and a therapist too. So
That's
I was setting up our resource table at church.
and this. I know you want me to put this one up. I want to pop that.
Oh yeah. So we have everybody that's ever been involved thus far with Project Wings. Our facilitators. And I could go through everybody.
Okay, let me make
I
this.
can't see everybody. I mean, I can, but
Yeah, I know. You didn't gave so many shout outs, so you definitely have the heart to shout everybody out and to
yeah.
celebrate people. And
But
I
I
can
just want, I hope they looking and they can see themselves. For Maxine Bryant, Tremaine Presley, Miss Pam Pryor is over the Wings Ministry now in Scott United Methodist Church, because we had a transition, especially when I left. And Miss Pam is now over. So there's still a Wings Ministry at Scott United Methodist Church in Indianapolis, Indiana.
and I saw this too. I just want to make sure I can see that you like giving flowers and tribute and stuff. What is this here?
And that says we are not all in the same boat, but we are all in the same storm.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Again, and we want to get out of comparing trauma too. Sometimes we do that. You know what I mean? We're
Yeah.
not here to compare trauma. We're not here to do that. Well, we're here to overcome it and conquer it together.
Yes, that's good. I just think that it's so much that you've shared in this short period of time tonight. But I want people to know that they can stay. I saw another image here. All of these images, I want to put them up because they're all so profound. But
And these are affirmations, again, whether you're journaling it, whether you say it to yourself during meditation or say it out loud every day. You know what I mean? You are worthy, you're valued. And so we have to be able to speak because your body and your spirits listen. There's power of the tongue. So I tell people all the time, speak over yourself. And,
yeah,
I love the song Encourage Yourself. You know what I mean? By
yeah.
Donald Lawrence. And I love that song. It's got me through it many a times.
Thank
So again, praise music, do things for yourself to lift your spirit and encourage yourself. And that right there is a suicide prevention lifeline. We want people to be knowledgeable that, again, you are not alone. And if you need help, there are resources and help out there to, and if you know someone that is suicidal and struggling with suicide ideology and attempts,
yeah,
act on it. Act on it.
that's good.
And there again, we have Project Wings members and co-founders. There go Miss Faretha Cooper there with the scarf on her head. She vice
It's
president
already
and president. She probably killed me for this picture.
Oh yeah, she
And
gonna be
also,
like, now I know you could have found a different picture of me, but it's okay.
there's some other ones.
She's trying to represent you. That's the beautiful
I'm
part.
trying to represent it. That's my grandbaby in one of the workshops. They were talking about emotions. Again, we teach those things: what's bad emotions, what's good emotions, what's things you can control and what you can't control, and how to cope through it and have conflict resolution as well.
That's really good. So you have something for every age, is what I'm
We
also
have,
seeing.
yes, we
Okay.
do.
And so when people reach out to you, even they can reach out to you and your group regarding their young people to the children.
Yes, right.
Let's see. Okay, I
And
saw I
again,
got
that's
that one. And then I think it was one. Was this something that you wanted me to show too?
yeah, that was again, that was the workshop. Again, that was showing them, and so they can visualize it and see if things you can control, things you can.
That's good. Well, while we're showing things, I just want to make sure that I take a moment too to just say, uh, is this? Yeah, I want to say happy birthday to my niece because it's her
Happy,
birthday. I didn't put any
happy,
music to it because it'll get a copyright strike. But Sade,
yes.
I love you. Her mom transitioned from this earth to move to heaven. That's her mom in the colorful shirt.
Oh,
And so I know that
beautiful.
she's smiling down from heaven today as Sade is celebrating her birthday. And
Happy blessed birthday, baby. Happy blessed
yes,
birthday.
I'm so excited. She's a mommy and a wife and just a wonderful young lady. And God gave me the opportunity to help assist with raising her. So I just wanted to say happy
Amen.
birthday to you, Sade. Love you so much. And so glad that you are my niece. All right, all right.
Oh.
Anything that is going to be happening in the near future with Project Wings that you want people to know about? And Mackenzie, put the contact information up one more time too.
Thank you. Well, I'll be in Indianapolis, Indiana this weekend to do a workshop. And it's a mental health check-in for women. It's called Women You Good. Yuri Yulu. I hope I'm saying that right. That was gifted up on me. So we're going to be doing, again, we're going to do some meditation. We're going to do some journaling. We're going to give mental health tips, and we're going to have drumming and things. So that's this weekend yes, yes, a whole healing empowerment event for
Okay.
for women and was just a mental health check-in because again especially Black women we are mules of the world as Zora Neale Hurston said, and we carry the weight of so much,
Yes, we
and
do.
we do not self utilize self-care as much, and we need to be able to have sisterhood and fellowship and therapy in all shape forms and fashion. So I'll be doing that this weekend, and then next month, I will be again back in Indianapolis, but I also do events here. Where I actually spoke at my first woman empowerment event with Miss Stacy Brace. I was spoke in March, and that was very impactful. So I'll be in Indianapolis again next month doing a workshop. We're going to do Family Mental Health Night.
Excellent.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Well, listen, y'all, make sure you stay connected with TaMara E'Lan G. You cannot go wrong. I also encourage you, and we didn't talk about this tonight, but I can tell you that spiritual leaders also need encouragement.
Yes,
And
they
it
do.
does our heart really glad when people think of you and think about some of the things that you have had to overcome in traumatizing situations. Many of you know that I wear this pin, which represents my son that transitioned from this earth. But this past Sunday, the church gave me a pendant because I often say, dog, I only wear my pin with my son that passed away, but I have 5 children total. And on this pendant, guess what? They gave one with all of my children on the other side of
Oh, that is so
it. And so
beautiful.
all 5 of my children are on that side. And then my
Yes.
son, Gabriel, who's in heaven, is on that side. That you don't know what that does for my mental health, for
Yes.
my church members to even think enough of me to do something like that. You don't take those kind of things for granted. And I'm definitely not going to start crying, but I'm grateful to
No,
God
yes,
that
yes,
I say that to say that spiritual leaders don't think that just because they're the spiritual leaders that they don't need to be surrounded by strong people too that can
that's
help
right.
uplift and encourage them as well. That's just make sure y'all do that. Okay, to your leaders.
Well, you are a blessing and a gem to the world. You're a light. Thank you for all that you're doing, and you are all deserving to be able to get your flowers for all that you do. And I want you to stay encouraged, and I want you to be taking care of yourself. You know what I mean?
Oh,
And
I'm
know
getting
that you are
rest.
loved.
I'm going to bed, girl. When I get done,
I
that's
know
one thing.
that's right.
I goes to bed. Okay. People be like, what? She just completely shut down on. So yes, because it's time for bed. All right. Somebody said great interview. Great interview. Charlotte area. Get on board with TaMara in the area. Get connected. And this is not a program that's only on in the Charlotte area, just so y'all know. We are also featured on CTR Media Network and 300,000 household. It's like 300 and let me see how many. I've got to look at the statistics right because I got all kind of stuff up here. Wait a minute. Let me make sure I say the right number. CTR Media Network. If you download that app on Roku and Fire TV, Amazon TV, download CTR Media Network. We're on the self improvement channel under the Kim Jacobs Show. So this show is going to be airing over there as well. And we're in 140 countries, over 300,000 social media platforms, and 350 million households. So thank you, CTR Media Network, for allowing the Kim Jacobs Show to be a part. My final announcement, because I didn't go to any commercials tonight, is to let you know that there is a workshop. And it is a double header that's taking place, letting you know how to formally write grants. And so if you are to go and put the code KJ show as the code, let me use that as your code, then you will be able to be able to take part in this program, letting them know that you came through Kim Jacobs Show. It's $197 for you to participate, and it is going to be a blessing to your life if you're looking for grant funding. So you'll learn from Dr. Margaretta, and the way to participate is right there, 704. I don't have these glasses on. Lord have mercy. TaMara, you did good not having to put yours on.
Look, let me put mine on real quick.
738-7377, 704-738-7377, and let them know that you heard about it on the Kim Jacobs Show. Okay, everybody, that's today's episode. What's the closing comment you have?
Breaking generational strongholds. Be brave, be encouraged, and know that you're not alone and that you can do it. You can do it.
You can do it. And based on what you've said tonight, I feel like everybody should feel like we can do it a little bit more. Hold on just a little while longer based on what you shared. Listen, I'm encouraging you all, if you have not poured into the Kim Jacobs Show at all, if you've never partnered with us, this is the only way we get a chance to come into your household, is through partnerships. So please partner with us today in any format that you choose. It allows us to continue to come on Monday through Friday and bring balance into your house, one household at a time. So thank you all so much for tuning in tonight, and thank you all, everybody over there on Instagram. Make sure, do you have any questions over there on Instagram? I want to make sure I don't leave you all out, and say thank you for participating as well. You are a blessing to this world, TaMara. Thank you.
To God be the glory. You're a blessing, and I thank you so much for having me. And I just want everybody to stay encouraged and push through and do what you got to do.
Well, you keep letting your light shine the way that it is. Thank you all so much for being active participants. And I see all of you. Awesome. Tanya said, awesome, Kim Jacobs. Good night. Good night. Everyone needs this attention and love. Hello from Indianapolis. Varetha said, Cooper, lots of chocolate hearts. I see you. Okay, I see all of you. I'm trying my best to make sure. Thank you for being an instrument in the community and a vessel of honor. That is our episode tonight, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Kim Jacobs Show, and we'll see you again tomorrow. God bless you, and we love you. Have a great night. Thank you, Mackenzie, backstage. Bye-bye, everybody. This is awesome. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of the Kim Jacobs Show, and for being in the virtual studio audience. Your presence truly does make a difference, and I look forward to you bringing your friends and family to join you in the virtual studio audience Monday through Friday at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I look forward to seeing you, and make it a great day.